Warren Buffett once said, "The best investment you can make is an investment in yourself." The more you learn, the more you will earn. With that note, we warmly welcome you all to the second day of the Investment Week 2022. Today, we are gathered here because we made the incredible decision to invest in the essence of knowledge. Knowledge is an asset that can return tenfold, a treasure that can benefit a society.
A very good morning to all of you, distinguished guests, dearest lecturers, and my dear colleagues. On behalf of the Department of Finance, University of Kelaniya, we warmly welcome you all for the second day of the Investment Week 2022.
University of Kelaniya has been the second home to many successful Sri Lankans since 1959. So please rise for the University Anthem as we pay tribute to our alma mater.
Desakitu gosa urumaya suratin siat suwanda vidu kirana bedadena sada sandaki vidu lakara udajina Kelaniya sarasavi mata Kelaniya sarasavi mata
Thank you. You may please be seated. Now, let's have a look at today's lineup. We will be hosting the launching ceremony of the Center for Financial Literacy, awarding ceremony of the Sneha Loka Scholarship Program, workshop on financial technologies conducted by Mr. Buddhi Chandrasena, Director, Digital Transformation, WNS Global Services Private Limited, workshop on unit trust and mutual funds conducted by Mr. Asokan Padmanathan, former President, Unit Trust Association. Launch and review of the Finance Outlook magazine by Mr. Shaminda Kumarasiri, Chairman, HCP Consulting Private Limited. And finally, the Economic Forum with the presence of Mr. Chandan Aludgama, CEO, Sri Lanka Insurance Corporation Limited. Mr. Thimal Pereira, CEO, DFC Bank PLC. Mr. Dimantha Matthew, Head of Research, First Capital Holdings. Mr. Kusal Jayawardena, Deputy Managing Director, Alliance Finance Company PLC. And this will be moderated by Dr. Ruani Fernando, Senior Lecturer, Department of Finance. We hope that today will be as remarkable for you all as the first day of the investment week.
Leadership is the capacity to translate vision into reality. Professor Ruwan Abesekara, Head Department of Finance, University of Kelaniya, is always a guide, a mentor, and a visionary leader to us. Dear sir, this humble invitation is for you to welcome the address.
Good morning to all of you. Professor Nilanthi De Silva, the Vice Chancellor, University of Kelaniya, Chief Guest for today's event, Dr. Narada Fernando, Dean, Faculty of Commerce and Management Studies, Mr. Buddhi Chandrasena, Director, Digital Transformation, WNS Global Services Private Limited, Mr. Ashokan Padmanathan, Past President, Unit Trust Association, Dr. Saman Bandara, Department of Accountancy, Professor Susima Veligamage, Dr. Chatura Lienage, and other staff of the Department of Finance, and my dear students. I have the honor and privilege of extending a warm welcome to all of you as we begin session 1 of the second day of the Investment Week 2022. Investment Week is a signature event of the Department of Finance organized by the Finance Students Association. This event is being planned for the 9th time in a row. The theme of this year's Investment Week is that reviving through the economic crisis, rebuild Sri Lanka. Investment Week this year spans 3 days. The Department of Finance is hoping to accomplish 4 goals by holding this event. First and foremost, we want to help our students improve their soft skills. Next, we want to start working with the industry. Third, we want to educate the public about finance. And finally, we want to improve the department's reputation. We call it brand image. The Department of Finance is one of the leading departments in the university system in Sri Lanka that provides world-class finance education. So Department of Finance is celebrating its 11th anniversary this year. So there are 4 degree programs offered by the Department of Finance that include Bachelor of Business Management, Honors in Finance, Banking, Insurance and Financial Engineering, which serves roughly about 800 students. The department has accomplished a lot of during the past 11 years. 2 significant accomplishments are receiving CFA recognition for its degree program and receiving an A grade from University Grant Commission for its excellence. In addition to these 2 significant achievements, I am pleased to report that Sri Lanka Standard Institution awarded ISO 9001 2015 quality certification to our degree programs this year, making Department of Finance the first finance department in the Sri Lankan university system to receive this prestigious accreditation. In this session, we will officially launch the Center for Financial Literacy. Thank the contributors of the Seneha Loka Scholarship Fund and enlighten the audience about financial technologies. We call it FinTech and unit trust and mutual funds. So although Sri Lanka has a 95% print literacy, as you are aware, only 35% of the population is financially literate. This lack of financial literacy is one of the reasons Sri Lanka currently suffers on an individual and national level. Therefore, there is a need for improvement in the nation's financial literacy. To address this national need, our department made the decision to launch the Center for Financial Literacy. Although we are officially launching it today, the Center for Financial Literacy has been working hard over the past few months, and Professor Dr. Chathura Liyanage, he is the director of Center for Financial Literacy. He will talk more about what we have done in last few months. So as you are aware, our students have several financial challenges as a result of COVID and the nation's present economic hardships. In order to assist the department's neediest students, our department established the Seneha Loka Scholarship Fund. I am pleased to say that we have been able to assist deserving students thanks to the kind donations of the department's lecturers and the well-wishers to this fund. We will show our gratitude to the donors today. Further, the discussion on fintech and the unit trust will enhance the value of this session. I would like to formally welcome Professor Nilanthi De Silva, Vice Chancellor of the University of Kelaniya, as the event's chief guest on behalf of the Department of Finance. We are truly appreciative of your kind visit, madam. I am honored to greet Dr. Narada Fernando, Dean, Faculty of Commerce and Management Studies, Mr. Buddhi Chandrasena, and Mr. Ashokan Padmanathan. I am happy to welcome the department heads, industry professionals, Dr. Saman Bandara, other heads of the departments, staff, and the Department of students of the Department of Finance. Finally, I would want to express my gratitude to the Finance Students Association for organizing this event. A special thank goes out to Mrs. Danushka Piyananda, Senior Treasurer of the Finance Student Association, for mentoring our students. I would especially like to thank Dr. Chathura Liyanage, Director of the Center for Financial Literacy, and Ms. Ganga Madhuchani, Coordinator of the Seneha Loka Scholarship Fund, for their dedication and enthusiasm. I am hoping for a fruitful and thought-provoking session today. Thank you very much and have a good day.
Thank you, sir, for your fruitful words. The single biggest difference between financial success and financial failure is how well you manage your money. It's simple. To master money, you must manage money. So, the Department of Finance has understood the gravity of effectively using various financial skills. So, we have the pride of initiating a Center for Financial Literacy to enhance our financial knowledge.
So, to give you a better insight about the Center for Financial Literacy, now I would like to cordially invite Dr. Chathura Liyanage, Director, Center for Financial Literacy.
Very good morning to all of you. Good money management is all about good life management. Chief guest of the day, Professor Nilanthi De Silva, Vice Chancellor, University of Kelaniya. Dr. Narada Fernando, Dean, Faculty of Commerce and Management Studies. Professor Ruwan Abesekara, Head, Department of Finance. Professor Susima Valigamage, Lecturer, Senior Lecturer from our department. Members of the Steering Committee of the Center for Financial Literacy. Mr. Buddhi Chandrasena, Director, WNS Global Services. My dear lecturers and my dear students, ladies and gentlemen. It's with great pleasure that I would like to welcome all of you today as the director for Center for Financial Literacy. I think this is a center which a kind of a nature for the first time in Sri Lanka in the university system, where we came up to disseminate the knowledge on financial literacy to the society at large. So before I talk about the objectives of this program or the center, I would like to highlight about the little bit of history about the center. Actually, I must, when I'm talking about the history, I cannot forget Professor Ruwan Abesekara, who is the brainchild of this center. Last year, in a department meeting, I can remember he came up with an idea that we will form a center where I think it's a high time for us to disseminate the knowledge of this financial literacy to the society. So he came up with some ideas that we should introduce to trishaw drivers and different vulnerable groups in the society. During the same time that as a country we went through a lot of financial issues. We were declared as a nation of bankruptcy. We had a high inflation. The essential items were in a huge shortage, and people were struggling to manage their financial needs. On the same note, I must also highlight that we had a product, it's already developed by the department, and I must again give the credit to Dr. Narad Fernando, the Dean of our faculty, who came up with the idea that we should introduce a course where we can approach the wider society. As you can remember, during the COVID time, as a department, as a faculty, we were able to deliver all our lectures through the online mode. So he came up with the idea we should give to the society. We need to give something beyond our students. So with that idea, we came up with this financial literacy course, and it was operationalized by Ms. Danushka Piyananda and her team. And last year, we were able to successfully launch this course. So we had a nice product in our hand. On the same time, I'm sure Professor our Vice Chancellor will also accept that as a university, we were driving the millennium, sustainability goals. So I'm very happy to say that financial literacy is actually serving out of these 17 goals, 7 goals, madam. So therefore, it was a unique combination, and there was a need coming from the society. So as a department, we thought, okay, this is a good opportunity for us to capitalize. So on the same time, I need to highlight the composition of this center. We have as our chief patrons our Vice Chancellor and also the Dean of the faculty. And also we have the head of the department, and we have a steering committee. So this steering committee is not only from the Department of Finance, but also other departments in the faculty. We have Dr. Saman Bandara from Department of Accountancy, Dr. Sugit Patabendike from Department of Marketing, and Ms. Vindhya from Human Resource Department, HRM Department, and also we have Dr. Madhurika from Commerce and Management Studies. So we have a good combination, and from our department, Ms. Danushka Piyananda was participating. So this 5-member steering committee led this center. And on the same time, I need to highlight that we had a talented pool of lecturers from the Department of Finance who has the knowledge and the talent to disseminate this message to the wider society. Last but not least, I also need to highlight our first year and the second year students, because we connected these tasks as part of their modules, and they took it very proactively, and they came up with an innovative way to transfer this knowledge to the society. I was amazed with their new ideas. So I need to really thankful for all of them who was taking a lot of effort, their time and their resources to make this a reality. So So initially we went to a couple of schools because we got some invitations to pass this knowledge, because we believe the school children are the next generation and they are the best to get this exposure. And we would be very happy if that is would have been connected with their syllabuses as well, which is there are some new developments are coming on that way as well. So we got some opportunities to drive this initiative. So now I would like to take your attention for a small video which to give you an experience about the sessions that we went through in the last couple of weeks. Let's have a quick video on that to see the financial literacy among every level of the society, because we always think that those who are uneducated or those who are less skilled or the less income earners are always financial illiterate. But actually we found that in surveys that not only them but also those who are qualified, those who are educated and also skilled groups also have a problem of managing their finances and handling their day-to-day financial needs. So therefore the need came from every level of the society. So even we address mainly to the schools, we also went to also reach to army personnels and also some of the executives of the organizations, so that we can give this message to every level of the society. So I must thank again to all those who contribute for these sessions, and also without their support we would have definitely never been able to succeed. And especially these days we see that there are a lot of financial scandals, and also from 2007 we see many financial frauds have been happening. And when we went to the community, we identify and we heard that there were a lot of stories where people have been victimized for many financial scams. We know that like Golden Key credit card company in 2007, we had a 26,000 million fraud, and we have so many frauds like ETI to CIFL to so many scandals have been there over the years. So at least we believe through this knowledge they will be able to look at positively and to get the right decision in the future when they are taking the decisions in their financial managing their finances. So finally, I would like to show you another small video. This video again created by our students. It's kind of a role play, because we believe if we are going to the wider society, more than giving a lecture, we should come up with a use the social media. So therefore our students came up with some small role plays to give the message to the society. So out of many videos developed, I would like to share one video with you to see how they have passed this knowledge to the society.
Hello.
සුබ උදෑසනක්.
සුබ උදෑසනක්.
අයිරංගනි පෙරේරා මහත්මියද?
ඔව්, කවුද කතා කරන්නේ?
අපි ජයසත ෆයිනෑන්ස් ආයතනයෙන් කතා කරන්නේ. ඔබතුමිය අපේ වාර්ෂික දිනුමැදීමේ රුපියල් ලක්ෂ 10ක මුදලක් ජයග්‍රහණය කරලා තිබෙනවා. අපේ උණුසුම් සුබ පැතුම් ඔබතුමියට.
අනේ ඇත්තද මහත්තයෝ?
ඔව් මහත්මිය. ඒ ත්‍යාග මුදල තහවුරු කර ගැනීම සඳහා මට ඔබගේ විස්තර කිහිපයක් ලබා දෙන්න පුළුවන්ද?
ඔව් පුළුවන් මහත්තයෝ.
ඒ ත්‍යාග මුදල ලබා දීමේදී අපි සේවා ගාස්තුවක් දාය කරනවා.
ඒ මොකද්ද මේ මහත්තයෝ?
ඒ අපේ ආයතනයේ ප්‍රතිපත්තියක් වෙනවා. ඔබට පුළුවන් ද ඒ මුදල අපේ ගිණුමට බැර කරන්න?
අම්මේ
මං ඒක ගෙදර අයගෙන් අහලා හරියටම කියන්නද?
හරි මහත්මිය.
හරි. පුතා ආවද?
ඔව් අම්මේ. කවුද කතා කරේ?
පුතේ අද මට ජයසත ආයතනයෙන් කතා කරානේ. මට තෑගි මුදලක් ලැබෙනවා කියලා කිව්වා. ඒක ගන්න සේවා ගාස්තුවක් ගෙවන්න කියලා.
මොන ජයසිත ආයතනයක්ද? ඒ කාලෙකට කලින් වැහිලා ගියානේ.
මොකක්? එතකොට මට ආපු කෝල් එක?
කෝ ආපහු කෝල් එක කරන් බලන්න.
The mobile telephone you are calling has not responded.
මේ නම්බර් එක වැඩ නෑ නේ අම්මා.
Call again shortly.
මේගොල්ලෝ අපිට පොරුවක්ද කරේ එතකොට?
Sorry for the technical fault. Anyway, now you can, once we launched our website today, you can witness these videos in our site. So I would welcome all of you to have a look on that. So with that, I would like to conclude my remarks. But I also want to give this message to everyone in today's session that this center, we believe that we have we can do a lot through this center, and I need all your support and your knowledge to make this to achieve greater heights. So with that, I would conclude my remarks. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Mentoring is a brain to pick, an ear to listen, and a push in the right direction. She is always a guide and a mentor to us, and the guiding light to the University of Kelaniya. Senior Professor Nilanthi De Silva earned her first degree in medicine from the University of Colombo and her master's in medical parasitology from the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine in 1989, and a Doctor of Medicine degree specializing in medical parasitology from Colombo University's Postgraduate Institute of Medicine in 1994. She has lectured at the Faculty of Medicine, University of Kelaniya since 1993 and has been the Professor of Parasitology there since 2003. She has been appointed to the prestigious position of Vice Chancellor, University of Kelaniya in 2020 and has been leading the institution towards academic excellence since then. Further, Professor Nilanthi De Silva received the Top 50 Professional and Career Women Award 2020 in the Educator category. Senior Professor Nilanthi De Silva is one of the 15 Sri Lankan professors among the top Sri Lankan researchers who contribute the top 2% of the world's researchers compiled by Stanford University. So, without further ado, I would like to call upon the chief guest of today's event, Senior Professor Nilanthi De Silva, Vice Chancellor, University of Kelaniya, to grace this occasion.
Thank you for that kind introduction, my dear. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Dr. Narada Fernando, Dean of the Faculty of Commerce and Management Studies, Dr. Ruwan Abesekara, Professor Ruwan Abesekara, I'm sorry, Head of the Department of Finance, all of the other academic staff members who are here today, and all the distinguished invitees, students. As I say, it's always a pleasure to come back to for event in the Faculty of Commerce and Management Studies, because there is such a lot of buzz and energy going on in this faculty. It reminds me of why I actually even applied to become the Vice Chancellor of this university. There are problems, but these are the good things about the job, to understand and to remind myself each day that there are very significant contributions that we make to the country through the university. Coming from the medical profession, we've always had this concept ingrained in us that as university academics, we have a duty primarily towards teaching undergraduate and postgraduate students, but also to engage in research, the creation of new knowledge, as well as being of some service to the community in which we live, work in the country. In the health profession, I think that's not too difficult to do, because there are always people with health issues and in need of expert professional care in terms of dealing with their medical problems. It may be a little bit more difficult to see what exactly that service that you can render to the community in terms of a Faculty of Commerce and Management Studies. But what I see here today and what I have seen over the last year or two is that the Faculty of Commerce is also rendering that service to the community in a very laudable and praiseworthy manner. And this idea of taking the fundamental concepts in financial literacy out into the community and educating people, school children as well as others, about financial literacy has become something that is of so really crucial importance in today's context of the economic crisis that we are all going through. And as we all know, when you have less and less money, with you need to make it stretch more and more, then it becomes really important that you know how to handle it wisely and well. So I'm really pleased to see what the Center for Financial Literacy has been doing in reaching out to the community, and I suggest that the videos that you are making, the university has a official YouTube channel and official Facebook pages, that you make it available through that as well, so that other people can access it. So I'm really my sincere congratulations to everybody who's been involved in that, academic staff and students in engaging in that. One other little thought that I would like to leave you with before I conclude is something that I was reminded of 2 nights ago when I was invited to a reunion of the Global Korea Scholarship Alumni Association, their annual AGM and get together. I was reminded that South Korea is a country that has reached where they are, the upper income developed status, through their investment in human capital. That they work, that concept which we no longer seem to talk about quite so much, of working towards a knowledge economy. Economy that is driven by educated, intelligent workforce. And this message is particularly for students. This talk of going through the economic crisis and rebuilding Sri Lanka can't be done with just managing finances alone. We need intelligent, educated persons, human resources in this country. Yes, you can go overseas, and many people are doing that these days, migrating in search of greener pastures. But Sri Lanka also needs that same kind of workforce. And as somebody, as you just heard from the young lady who introduced me, I've been working in this system for a long time. I've lived through many crises in Sri Lanka. I've spent time overseas, but I've always come back to Sri Lanka. I've seen how we are resilient enough to bounce back from worse crises, right? And I have every confidence that we will bounce back from this crisis too. But to make that happen sooner rather than later, we need an intelligent, educated workforce in this country. So to the young men and women who are in the audience here today, I urge you, engage fully in the opportunities that you receive at the Faculty of Commerce and Management Studies, whether it is academic activities, whether it is extracurricular activities, whatever. Engage fully with the opportunities that you are given to through this university. You are receiving a free education, and think about how you can pay back the country before you think of migrating overseas. I'm not saying you need to live and work in this country for the rest of your lives, but think a little bit about how you can pay back what you have got from the nation. Yeah? Okay, thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, madam, for those insightful words. Madam, would you please remain on stage? Now it's time to officially launch the Center for Financial Literacy.
Now, I would like to cordially invite Dr. Narada Fernando, Dean, Faculty of Commerce and Management Studies, Professor Ruan Abesekara, Head, Department of Finance, and Dr. Chatura Liyanage, Director, Center for Financial Literacy, to accompany Senior Professor Nilanthi De Silva, Vice Chancellor, University of Kelaniya.
Dear sir and madam, please remain on stage to give away the certificates for the participants who have successfully completed the online short course in financial literacy. I would like to invite Senior Professor Nilanthi De Silva, Vice Chancellor, University of Kelaniya, accompanied by Dr. Chatura Liyanage. WBS Fernando. RMPUB Ratnayaka. RAH Udayanga. DMTJ Disanayaka.
Thank you, Madam and Sir. A candle loses nothing by lighting another candle. Sneha Loka is a scholarship program for those who yearn for affection. The program is conducted by the Department of Finance for the future of our own undergraduates. To enlighten you about this program, I kindly invite the coordinator of the scholarship program, Ms. Ganga Madhushani, Lecturer, Department of Finance.
Good morning to all of you. Our chief guest today, Senior Professor Nilanthi De Silva, Vice Chancellor, University of Kelaniya, Dr. Narada Fernando, Dean, Faculty of Commerce and Management Studies, Professor Ruan Abesekara, Head, Department of Finance, all the heads of the departments, all the professors, lecturers, all the other guests who have joined with us today from the industry, and my dear students. To become a center of excellence in creation and dissemination of knowledge for the sustainable development. That's the vision of the University of Kelaniya. Hence, university's commitment is to invest on creating quality graduates who can win the world. Every one of us are a part of that. Hence, if we can encourage our undergraduates through their journey of success further, I think that kind of an investment gives us a greater satisfaction, and that feeling, I think, much be more enormous than the monetary returns we receive. Sneha Loka, for those who earn affection. It's a scholarship program conducted by the Department of Finance for our students who need a financial support. So we started this program, I think 1.5 years ago, with the suggestion of Professor Ruwan Abesekara, head of our department, and also as a senior lecturer of our department, our dean of the faculty also, Dr. Narada Fernando, as well as with an idea of Professor Susima Valigamage, as well as all the senior lecturers and also the lecturers of the Department of Finance. So we started this with the purpose of celebrating 10th anniversary of the Department of Finance. So I'm happy to inform you that we were able to continuously support our first year undergraduates, and we have provided them a monthly amount for their education and learning purposes. So their success is our success. That's why I think this is also a kind of an investment, but this may not give us a monetary return, but a great satisfaction. And this is the reason why I thought of talking about this during the investment week today. So initially, our own lecturers supported us for this, and now the members of our alumni association also are contributing us for this virtue. So later, we have created a fund also called as Sneha Loka Scholarship Fund, and for this program, now our undergraduates are also supporting us to maintain the sustainability of this fund by conducting little projects. So dear sir, madam, our expectation is to continue this program, strengthen this program, and to be a courage for our students as much as possible we can, because their success is the success of our economy, our society, and the whole world. Hence, what we need is your support and the blessings for this. Thank you.
Thank you, madam. Now it's time to appreciate all the donors who are behind the success of this program. So I cordially invite Senior Professor Nilanthi De Silva, Vice Chancellor, University of Kelaniya, accompanied by Dr. Narada Fernando, Dean, Faculty of Commerce and Management Studies, and Professor Ruwan Abesekara, Head, Department of Finance, to give away the tokens of appreciation. Mr. Sulakshana Fernando, Managing Director, Citi Group of Companies. Mr. Tushan Madhushankar, Management Accountant, Brandix Apparel Solutions. Ms. Dulanya Bandara, Associate, Equity Knowledge Partners Private Limited. All of them are members of the Alumni Association of Department of Finance. Madam, would you please? Thank you, madam. There are a few other members of the Alumni Association who contributed to this worthy cause, who were unable to make it today. So I take this time to honor them as well. Ms. Devindi Premaratna, former lecturer, Department of Finance. Mr. Romal De Silva, Senior Manager, Ernst & Young. Mr. Dinit Kularatna, Senior Consultant, PwC, Australia. Mr. Isuru Kanchana, Treasury Consultant. Ms. Madhusha Disanayaka, Senior Consultant, IFS Sri Lanka. Mr. H.M.K. Nalinda, Assistant Director, Central Bank of Sri Lanka. Mr. Hasanta Miriyagalla, Senior Associate, Asia Securities Limited.
This program won't be a success if not This program won't be a success if not for the contribution of our very own academic staff members of the Department of Finance. So we are truly grateful for your effort on the success of the Sneha Loka Scholarship Program.
It's our pleasure to inform you all that our first, second and third year brothers and sisters have collected 100,000 rupees through many projects for the Sneha Loka Scholarship Program. To donate this amount to the Sneha Loka Scholarship Fund, I invite Ms. Ganga Madhushani, Coordinator of the Sneha Loka Scholarship Program, together with Vivina Abekon, Heshwara Senuri and Situmini Sena Nayaka, representing the undergraduates of the third, second and first years respectively. To receive the donation, I would like to invite Professor Ruan Abesekara, the President of the Sneha Loka Scholarship Fund, and Mrs. Danushka Piyananda, Treasurer, Sneha Loka Scholarship Fund.
Thank you, sir and madam. To give a little concluding remark of the Sneha Loka Scholarship Program, this kind invitation is to Ms. Ganga Madhushani.
Sneha Loka, for those who earn affection, දිරියක් අවැසි හදවත් අරුත් ගන්වන සොඳුරු මනුදම් වියමන වෙනුවෙන් දිරිදුන් ඔබට ස්තුති කරන්නට මම මේ අවස්ථාවක් කරගන්නම්. ප්‍රධාන ආරාධිත අමුත්තා ලෙස සැපමිනි ජ්‍යෙෂ්ඨ මහාචාර්ය නිලන්ති ඩි සිල්වා උපකුලපතිතුමියනි ඔබට බෙහෙවින්ම ස්තුතියි. එසේම ස්නේහා ලෝක වැඩසටහනට දිරිදුන් මඟ පෙන්වූ උපකාර කළ අපගේ පීඨාධිපතිතුමන් ආචාර්ය නාරද ප්‍රනාන්දු මහාචාර්ය රුවන් අබේසේකර අපගේ අංශාධිපතිතුමන් ජ්‍යෙෂ්ඨ මහාචාර්ය චිත්‍රා රංජනී මහාචාර්ය සුසීමා වැලිගමගේ මෙන්ම සියලුම කතිකාචාර්යවරුන්ටත් එසේම දායකත්වය ලබා දුන් ආදිශිෂ්‍ය සංගමේ සියලුම මහත්ම මහත්මීන්ටත් ස්තුතිවන්ත වෙනවා. එසේම අද මෙම අවස්ථාව අපට ලබා දුන් මූල්‍ය ශිෂ්‍ය සංගමේ ජ්‍යෙෂ්ඨ භාණ්ඩාගාරික දනුෂ්කා පියනන්ද කතිකාචාර්යතුමිය සහ සියලුම දරුවන්ටත් මගේ ස්තුතිය පුද කර සිටිනවා. අවසාන වශයෙන් පුංචි දෙයක් කියන්නම්. ඔබ සියලුම දෙනාටම දුන්න පුංචි සිහිවටනය තුල තියෙනවා සමන් පිච්ච පැලයක්. ඉතින් අපි දන්නවා සමන් පිච්ච කියලා කියන්නේ ඖෂධීය වශයෙන් වටිනාකමක් තියෙන ශාකයක් වගේම පුංචි මලක් මුළු ප්‍රදේශයක්ම සුවඳ කරනවා. ඉතින් ඔබත් ඒ වගේ අපගේ දරුවන්ගේ අනාගතය ආලෝකමත් කරන්නට දායකත්වය ලබා දුන් දිරිදුන් කාරුණික හදවත් ඇති ඔබගේ දිවියද එසේම වේවා යන්නයි එසේම සුවඳවත් වේවා යන්නයි අපගේ ප්‍රාර්ථනය. ඔබ සැමට සුබ දවසක් වේවා. ස්තුතියි.
Thank you, madam. In the current context, technology-based services play an essential role in the financial sector in providing services accurately at lightning-fast speeds. Fintech simplifies financial transactions for consumers and businesses, making them more accessible and affordable.
Next up, we have someone who has 20 plus years of versatile experience across process transformation, consulting, compliance, analytics with MNCs and local giants across financial services, insurance, IT, BPO, KPO, apparel and telecom industries. He's someone who really likes a challenge. His passion and dedication to excellence makes a valuable asset to any organization. It's none other than Mr. Buddhi Chandrasena, Director, Digital Transformation, WNS Global Services Private Limited. We are glad to hand over this session to Mr. Buddhi Chandrasena to conduct the FinTech workshop. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much for the kind invite. And yeah, okay. Every time I come to University of Kelaniya, I get amazed about what they do. And this is not a new stage to me. And I've been into University of Kelaniya many times. And every time I come here, and I can remember that University of Kelaniya as students, lecturers, the senior leadership of the university amazed me. When I came sometimes back, I can remember we were thinking about students' future. We were giving specific set of trainings on ERPs and things like that, which none of the other universities used to do. And then in one point in time, I came here to teach students how to do financial statements in Microsoft Excel. And today I'm here to talk about fintechs. So I can see University of Kelaniya is one entity that I have seen continuously following the trends, continuously following what the market is doing, what the environment is basically doing. And that tells me that this future is, future of this country is in the right hands, right? Thank you very much for the invite. And before I, start, I'm amazed today as well with the kind of events we had and talking about financial literacy. So today also, Chatura and the senior leadership of this university managed to give me a surprise and amaze me that we are thinking about something that is really, really vital at this point. And as a country, we are struggling because we, do not have financial literacy, and we actually have not managed our country well. We are in a very bad situation at this moment, but it's very clear that our future is in the right hands and future is in the right direction. We are doing the right things, that we will come out of this and we will sustain. Like our the Professor Nilanthi said, Sri Lanka, being in Sri Lanka is just being in Sri Lanka, and living in Sri Lanka itself is a qualification. People say in our CV we need to put that we are citizens of Sri Lanka as a qualification, because we had so much resilience. We have been through a lot of bad times, bad situations, but we have came through all of these different situations very, very successfully over the period of time. So by saying that, let me also get into the today's discussion. So my background is digital transformation. I've been into multiple organizations, working on digital transformation. Like most of you, I also used to be a finance professional in one point in time. So I'm an accountant in a way. And I used to do accounting, bookkeeping, financial statements in one point in time. Just give me 1 minute. I'll try to use a mic rather than the podium. That will be very helpful. I can see everyone. Okay. So, if you see the way how I name the session is opportunities for FNA professionals in the industry, the right candidate, right? And when we start this session, the very first statement I heard is the most important investment is investing in ourselves or people, and we are a country which doesn't have a lot of assets. We are a small country in terms of assets, so our biggest asset is people. More we invest in our people, that will help us to flourish in the future as a country. So if you look at what is going on, where are you currently living in? Can I ask few questions from some of you? Don't worry, these are not very difficult questions like the questions you get in the exam. These are very simple questions. Can all of you look at here? Can all of you look at here? Who wants me to ask a question from you? Who wants me to ask a question from you? This may be a golden opportunity you are getting in your entire life. Nobody else will ask this question from you again. Who wants a question? Who wants me to ask a question from you? Is any of you? Come on, University of Kelaniya, don't disappoint me. I just gave you a compliment. Any of you? Not a very difficult question. I will ask a very simple question. Anyone? Anyone? Or is it okay if I pick anyone? Now everybody is looking at tiles. Anyone wants me to ask a question from you? Any of you, please? University of Kelaniya, come on. Okay, who would like to answer this question? The environment we live in, forget about the politics in this country. This is very situational. Forget about all what is going on, but just look at as a holistic picture, the global, not only Sri Lanka. Just what kind of world we live in? What is happening in this world now? You started studying at school. You somehow passed your A-levels very well. You came to University of Kelaniya, and you are doing the degree program now, and you are just today invited for one of those events, right? But what is important is what is going to happen from now onwards. Future. This is all about future, guys, right? What are you planning to do in your careers? What are you planning to do in your careers? Can I come around and ask one of those questions? What are you planning to do in your career? Madam? No, you just sit and tell me. Huh? Chartered කරනවා තව qualification කරන්න ආසයි. ඒක තමයි දැනට plan කරලා තියෙන්නේ. What are you planning to do with your careers? Bank manager? Very good. What do you want to do with your careers? Who do you want to become? Let's see. Financial analyst? Okay. What about you? At the back? What about you, ma'am? Bank manager. So we have different dreams, right? But do we know whether some of these jobs that we are looking at is going to be exist in the future? Do you know that? Right? Let me tell you a couple of things that you might get little scared, but don't worry. That's why we do these kind of sessions, right? So most of the finance and accounting, now most of the people who do finance and accounting end up becoming an accountants, financial analysts, CFOs, and these are the different job roles that we do in the future, right? But many of these jobs are not going to be exist in the future. Trust me, right? The reason is the evolution of the environment. right? Let me tell you a story. Let's go to the next slide, please. Next slide. So we are sitting in this Industry 4.0. You might have heard about this many times in your, the past many years, right? There were different types of industries there. So Industry 1.0, where the machines or mechanized production that happened, steam engine was invented, and in one point in time, assembly lines were created. So still our production, most of the productions are running on this assembly line, right? If you can remember, the Henry Ford said, right, we'll manufacture cars, enough cars for anyone who wants cars, right? And these cars will be manufactured on an assembly line. And he can manufacture only black color cars, not anything else, because it's just a one machine. You just start producing in a line. And eventually in the Industry 3.0, the automation start coming in, IT industry start kicking off, and suddenly the electronics, lot of things start converting into electronics, right? In one point in time, if you can remember, we used to have very analog phones. It became digital phones, right? Things like that. The 3.0 and the 4.0 is a smart world. So we are actually stepping into a smart world. From 2018 and up until 2025 is considered as a period of transition, right? It can get slightly delayed to 2027 because of the COVID. We lost 2 years. But from 2018 onwards, this period, we are actually shifting from one industry into another industry. And this new industry, 4.0 that we call out, is known as 4.0. Let me clarify this a bit to you. Go to the next slide, please. So if you look at this, this explains the same industries in a slightly different way. Look at the first picture. There are days, there's an era that we go to a tailor shop and we try to get a suit tailored to you, to your own dimensions, right? And in one point in time, the apparel companies start manufacturing large number of quantities. So same suit, 10, 15 people start wearing the same thing because it was manufactured at mass. And then what happened? Personalization for some people. Some people say, no, I can't wear, especially ladies, right? They say, po mage t-shirt එකමයි අරයත් නැතන් ඉන්නේ. එකම කඩේට යන්නෙත් නැහැ සමහරක් වෙලාවට. Right? Because you will not willing to wear the same thing. You need a customization. Right? Now we are sitting in a situation, but when you try to do customization, you can't do customization for each and now. Let's say there are 100 people here. All of you need a t-shirt. I need 100 designs. That's what it means. It's a tough challenge. That's the ask. Right? So how do we overcome this challenge? You need to bring the technology. That's why the Industry 3.0 start focusing on technology rather than the processors. Right? Start focusing on the technology. And then we are getting into Industry 4.0. We are asking for a product like that. We want prestigious products, especially like ladies like these shoes, but every shoe has to be customized to each of the customer's requirement. So it's a very different demand, very different ask, right? In one point in time, your customer is becoming very demanding. Your industry need to mature enough to handle that very demanding, customizable goods that are requested, customers to be served, right? So technology has taken over our industry over the period of time. Why I said this, can we go to the next slide also? So it basically also explains how did we deliver each of these industry. In one point in time, it was a hand delivered. When it was tailor-made, I don't know how many of you, at least your generation, I don't think any of you have done it. At least my generation, once we have done it in very small days. I used to go to a tailor shop and get my trouser stitch. Now today you go to a shop, you tell the school the relevant uniform is available to purchase, right? And then made with help of machines. So large quantities were created using some machinery, right? And eventually it became machine made, and its machines are automated. What it means, you put the cloth from this side, threads from this side, you load the design into the computer, and you will get the garment from the other side, right? And today we are sitting in a much more complex world that, think about this, guys. Think about this for a minute. In the morning you get up, you go for a walk. You go for a walk. And when you go for a walk in the morning, early morning, you see a very nice picture, a very nice scenery out there. So what you do, you take your smartphone and you take a picture. Quickly you take a picture of that nice scenery. And then you go to a website and you load this picture into the website on a t-shirt and say, I would like this to be printed on a t-shirt. You finish the walk, you come home, you expected that t-shirt to be available on top of your table. That's the world we are living in right now. So speed is everything. Accuracy is everything, right? And what you want needs to be available in the next moment. Why I am saying this, how this is relevant to you, this is how the industry is transforming. So everything around the industry, jobs, skills, are also need to equally transform to support this industry requirement. So if you are, so we still learn, if you can remember my first page, I had Prater Luca Pacioli. You know who that is? You know who Prater Luca Pacioli is? You don't know? Who's that? Who is that? Yes, ma'am? Who's that? Father of accounting. Okay, the double entry system, right? Is he an accountant or a mathematician? He's a mathematician, right? It's very confusing, right? Because he invented accounting after became a mathematician. So if you look at, similar to the industry is changing, the industry is industry demand for the skills also is changing. So if you think that 20 years back, we were hiring accountants, senior accountants, associates, financial analysts, we are still hiring the similar type of people. That means you have not understood how this industry is changing. The industry is changing because technology has taken over. So we are hiring for very different type of skill set. Let me tell you why. So don't get scared. Your qualification will be still relevant if you know how to use that qualification and not limited your qualification to what you do now here, or you do all traditional way of qualifications. You start understanding what the demand and start grabbing some of those additional skills required to be still sustained in the industry. Okay. So World Economic Forum released 25 jobs that will not exist after 2025, right? Do you know one of those jobs? Most of the job roles sitting in the finance and accounting is there. Bookkeeping, accounting, all this work, their job roles are not going to be sustained after 2025. That's what they say. But they also publish, there are 25 job roles. It's not available today, but is going to be the highest demand after 2025. What are these job roles? They said data analytics, right? So it's not about financial analytics, it's about data analytics. It's not about financial insights, it's all about business insights, right? Creation are going to be one of the highest demanded job roles. And by the way, out of those 25 jobs, there are jobs like this also. Looking after elderly people is going to be the world's second highest demanded job after 2025. Right? So it's changing. The environment is changing. So we need to understand how do we change ourselves, where do we invest today to be more relevant in the future. Right? Let's go to the next slide. So that's why I said, while the industry is going through revolutionary changes, finance and accounting as a domain also experience the similar revolutionary changes. Sometimes our student population, luckily not University of Kelaniya, because like I said, I always see University of Kelaniya is a one step ahead of many other qualifications. Does not know it's changing. They come to the job market, apply, come for an interview. The first question they answer. What is the first question in the interview? What is the first question in the interview? Usually? Sorry? Tell me about yourself. You know about yourself, so you tell. Second question, onwards, it will become very difficult to answer. Right? It will become very difficult to answer. Because the second question onwards, it is more or less about the current demand of the job role. Right? So we prepare and go, we know how to do the double entry, you know, debit here, credit here. We'll write a description of narration of what I post. Right? Most of the people who are working in the industry right now doesn't know how to post double entries. Because it's not anymore an activity human does. Right? So let me explain how F&A as a domain is changing and how is it impacting you unless you are ready to take. Right? So my objective today is to tell you what kind of people we are hiring today. Right? How are we hiring and how are we, what are the types of skill set we hire, right, as an industry. Okay. So I'm from a specific industry called Business Process Management Industry, BPM, right? A BPM industry, or you call it BPO industry, right? And we hired the largest number of finance and accounting professionals in the market. We hired them, right? We hire a lot. And globally, if you look at it, Asia has the highest number of finance and accounting qualified skill set, and they serve finance and accounting work for the entire global, including the Europe, US, Australia, across that regions, right? And the qualification, the quality of the people who are coming out from, especially on Sri Lanka, on the finance and accounting, are very high quality, accounting professionals. So we have the very high quality accounting professionals in this country. So over the period of time, there are generations. How we provide these services have changed. At the very beginning, US and UK used to outsource their finance and accounting work for us. They just gave the work from UK to Sri Lanka, and we used to perform from Sri Lanka. Double entry posting, GL entries, bank reconciliations, financial statement preparations, all that we used to do here. But the generations start moving. So we are now sitting in between the generation 4 and 5. And we are getting into generation 6. Technology is basically taking over most of these transactional roles. We say in finance and accounting, any transactional role, what that means is, any transaction processing activity done by an human will be done by a robot in the future. Right? Now, when I say robot, what comes to your mind is what? What comes to your mind when I say a robot? When I say robot, what comes to your mind? I don't know what is coming to your mind. I'm asking what is coming to your mind when I say robot. You imagine a robotic figure, right? Like move like this? No. Robots are softwares. There are softwares who has the ability to mimic human action like a human without an human involved. As example, if you want to learn more, go to YouTube, search for robotics process automation. Search for robotics process automation. So you would understand what that means. Transaction processing, the bookkeeping activities, like I said, that you are used to do, humans are now done by these softwares. Right? Let's go to the next slide. So technology is basically taking over the activities that people used to do, which are rule-based. That means it doesn't require a brain. It is just a rule-based. It says, this will be done after this. And it's a fact. So there is no brain required. People will be invested on activities where the brain is required. That's why I said the data analytics, business insights are going to be the most demanding jobs in the future. That's where the human brain will be required. Right? So technology demand, you can see, technology is basically taking over the activities drastically from humans. Humans are expected to work together with technology hand in hand. Now what happened? I have been trained as an accountant. I know how to do accounting work, financial statements on a day-to-day basis. Now there is a robot right next to me, right? A software. I'm supposed to work with the robot on a daily basis, not with a human, right? It's a different skill set altogether. That's the new skill set that is required. Let's go to the next slide. Now look at the way how the type of technology is evolving. There are two paths. There is one path over here. There is another path over here. Now if you look at the fintech technologies, if you look at over here, we used to have ERP systems, and we used to have, people used to have Excel that produce transaction in Excel, and then we enter transaction into ERP system. We take the output of the ERP system. We prepare financial statements. Then we write our commentary. We analyze the financial statements. We write commentary of what is going on in the business. And we give it for the decision makers to make decisions. That is our role in the past. It has changed now. Transactions are processed by robots, not humans. And it happens 365 days, 24/7, right? So one robot is equal to 3 humans. Why? Humans work only 8 hours a day, right? They come at 9, go at 5, and they take a 1-hour lunch break, right? And they take few more hours of gossiping and work only 3.5 hours. Trust me guys, there's a research done. A very productive person in Asia is only working 3.5 hours productively on a day, right? So that actually driving the cost of any operation, right? Over the period of time, that's why the technology has taken over. Technology can make transaction processing cheaper. So robots are being implemented. Transaction processing is done 24 hours, 365 days as and when it's required by one bot, right? And transactions are fed into the system. From that system, it has gone into another system through an integration of API. And the financial statements are actually prepared on a particular statement and loaded into a business intelligence platform like Tableau, Power BI, ClickSense, and generated graphs, charts, where the insights are coming out, and provided to the decision maker to make the decision directly without any human intervention. That's the way how this work is going. It's a huge scarcity right now. Lack of skills to implement. That's the skill set that is required. Huge gap of skills. If you are ready, if you make yourself ready, right, there is a lot of opportunities coming up. Lot of opportunities coming up. Clear? Any questions up to here, guys? Let's go to the next slide. If you are just an FNA person, you can't survive. You need to be both hybrid, right? You need to have both in your skill set. Then you can be more relevant in the future. Different job roles, how they have evolved, and you can see how some of the new data engineering, data engineers, a new layer is getting introduced. Like World Economic Forum said this in 2015, that beyond 2020, data engineers is going to take over the world, right? That is what is happening. Everything will be insights, analytics to make decisions. As example, do you think that today you are watching the movie that you thought that you will watch? No, it was decided by an data model that you will watch that movie. How? When you are browsing through, it will basically identify some of the skill set you have, some of the interest you have, and it will bring the data in front of you automatically through data models, right? Today the data engineers decides what we eat, they decide what we wear, they decide what we learn, they decide what we watch through data models, right? We all are part of that through the data. We all are connected to the internet. This data is getting analyzed and being processed. So try to understand from your job role point of view, this is how it's changing. So we used to have a domain-specific roles previously. Now we have a techno-functional roles, we call it. What is a techno-functional roles? You are a FNA function with technology enabled. Techno-functional roles. So we are hiring techno-functional professionals in the future. Not only the finance and accounting professionals or only the IT professionals. Clear? Any questions? Let's go to the next slide. Now, a team of finance used to have, in one point in time, they were just delivering only the financial statements. Today, the finance and accounting teams are also financial transformers for the particular organization. That means you analyze, you understand what is happening in the business, and you tell the business what to do next, right? You make the decisions. So, these functional roles in the past now has become techno-functional. What are the techno-functional includes? It includes technology architects, quality assurance engineers, data engineers, predictive analyzers, right? Complex coders. So you are supposed to know coding also, right? And business analyst, solution architects. All these different roles are now being mixed into your key domain roles, FNA, finance and accounting, SME and applications, right? So try to understand, guys. The world is changing. I told you it's going through very complex change at the moment, Industry 4.0. Our customer is becoming ever demanding. They're demanding, but they're not willing to pay anything extra for that new demand. They still need low prices, but they need very complex products. So the industry need to really revolve, invent, and they invent through technology. And when the industry change through technology, all the different types of roles, enablers are also changing through technology. So all our roles that we used to have traditionally in finance and accounting is changing through technology. And in the future, we are hiring a techno-functional professional and not a domain professional or a IT professional separately. Try to understand that. The difference is that. So if you go to the next slide, my ask for you is this. If you are a finance and accounting professional, learn technology, right? And if you are an IT professional, learn finance and accounting, right? Without these two, we are not going to hire you, right? So we are looking for techno-functional professionals to be hired in the future for any organizations, right? That's how our industry is changing. So I started my career as in finance and accounting professional. Today I'm managing digital transformation for this company, right? Because eventually that's where the demand was, right? So I'm very happy that I always see in Kelaniya University when I come in that Kelaniya is actually thinking about these kind of changes. They actually do courses, programs that is been designed into that, driving the students towards that. And I'm very much clear in my mind that in the future, our finance and accounting job role is changing based on your domain as plus technology. So you need to learn the technology to understand how to sustain your future demand, right? For you as a skill set. Clear? Any questions? Any questions? Yes. Right. So try to understand about this qualification also a bit, right? I mean, you know, Google have decided not to hire graduates, right? It's not about qualifications. It's about skills. So I would say the skill set you should go behind is the skills of technology. Maybe it's a coding, right? Or maybe it's a architecture and designing, or go for data engineering as a skill set, right? It's one of the highest demanded skill sets. So go behind skills, not behind qualifications, please. Yeah, that is very, very important. Anything else? Any other questions? Okay, I hope that today I was able to plant that message in your mind that, you may be doing the right things right now, the qualifications, but you equally need to understand how the market is changing, how corporates are hiring, how the market is, looking for different new types of qualifications or new types of skill set, I would say, right? And how you need to keep yourself more relevant in the future, right? When you are coming out of your degree, that you will be demanded by any of the corporates and hire, right, to the particular company if you have the right skill set. So focus on creating that techno-functional skill set rather than only domain-centric skill set. That's the message I want to give it to you today. And it's very important. We discussed today about the financial literacy. So finance is an important element of all what we do, the financial acumen. But on top of that, it needs to be blended nicely with the technology for you to be more relevant for the future. Clear? Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. That was a fruitful and interesting session. We truly believe that your insightful thoughts would really inspire our colleagues to shape up their career journey.
Now, to present the token of appreciation to Mr. Buddhi Chandrasena, Director, Digital Transformation, WNS Global Services Private Limited, I would like to cordially invite Professor Ravi Disanayake, Head, Department of Marketing Management, accompanied by Mrs. Danushka Piyananda, Lecturer, Department of Finance.
Lined up next is the workshop on unit trust and mutual funds. To conduct the workshop, we have with us today Mr. Asokan Padmanathan, former President, Unit Trust Association. Mr. Asokan is a financial professional with more than 15 years of experience in banking, treasury, operating and accounting, and more than 20 years of experience in fund management and unit trust operations. He was a former Chief Executive Officer of Comtrust Asset Management Private Limited. He also worked for a short period of time as a consultant to the Securities and Exchange Commission of Sri Lanka. He was the national consultant involved in the ADB project of drafting the Code of Collective Investment Scheme for Securities and Exchange Commission of Sri Lanka. So it's with great pleasure I would like to invite Mr. Asokan Padmanathan to conduct the workshop.
Good morning to all of you. I must apologize that I was to take this lecture yesterday. I got the dates mixed up. But anyway, I understood that you all are having this program for 3 days. So your teacher Danushka asked me to come today. So I'm here today. So all right. So we are going to look at what a unit trust is. So I'm going to just take you through, because as you know, the unit trust code has been repealed. So in May 2022, we have introduced a code called Collective Investment Scheme, CIS. So that is what is in operation now, but yet unit trust is also a collective investment scheme. So we will look at some of the key features of the unit trust and some of the different types of CIS schemes and some of the practical aspects of how we manage these unit trust funds. Can you want the next one? Right. So if you look at the basic characteristics of unit trust, these are pooled investment. That means many people, different people contribute different amounts. So how do they contribute to the fund? They purchase units, like companies raise capital by issuing shares. They issue units. That means when I say they, the fund managing company. So we will see who the participants of unit trusts are later. It is the fund managing company that issues units to the public and raise capital, and that capital is managed. So it represents. So why do they raise money? To manage an investment portfolio and provide a return to those who have purchased units in the fund. So that's the basic idea of having unit trust. And then if you look at, so when you are creating a portfolio, that portfolio can consist of many different asset classes. But right now in Sri Lanka, we have only 2 main asset classes. One is equity securities and the other one is fixed income securities. But under the CIS code, there are many asset classes that can come. So it has been gazetted only in May this year, but we believe when the economy takes off, when we progress, the CIS is a wider code where the opportunities are unlimited. And then when I say investment portfolio, every investment has a risk and return, right? So there is no return without risk. You all would have known that. So the risk and return of these unit trusts are determined by the investment objective. So as we go along, we will see that there are more than 68 unit trust funds in operation in Sri Lanka. And each of these funds have different investment objective. Some are similar, but they have different types of fund with different investment objective. So in order to meet those investment objective, the fund managing companies, they adopt different investment strategies to achieve those objectives. Can we move on to the next slide? So if you look at the unit trust funds in terms of the investors or the public, it provides a spectrum of risk and return from low risk to high risk, right? So there are certain funds which are in operation, which are, when you consider in terms of risk, that is considered as low risk. But whereas there are some funds which provide, the objective is to provide a higher return, but it carries a higher risk. So the investors have the choice to select a suitable fund that meets their risk profile and their return objective. So it is well suited for small investors, right? Why do I say that it's well suited for small investors? That doesn't mean that large investors are precluded from investing in unit trust. But as you know, small investors, the amount of money that they are willing to invest, their ability to invest may be small amounts, like 10,000 rupees or 25,000 rupees. But as you know, with 25,000 rupees or 10,000 rupees, if you want to get the benefit of the equity market, it's very difficult to have a diversified portfolio, investment portfolio with such small amount, right? Because by the time you buy 1 or 2 shares, your 10,000 rupees is finished. So that means your portfolio is concentrated only on 2 stocks. So that is considered high risk. But where unit trusts are concerned, they collect money from various people. So generally they have a large pool of funds. So they have the ability to diversify their investment portfolio. So when I say diversification, it may be 20-25 stocks. So although there are about 300 stocks, we don't invest more than 25, maximum 30 stocks. Because why? Whatever you invest, you got to closely monitor. So I will come to that later. But say as I mentioned, for a small investor, he can't have a diversified portfolio with the small 10,000 or 25,000. But when he comes to the unit trust, he purchases the units in the fund. But what happens? He gets the benefit of the diversified investment portfolio with that small amount. Now some unit trust fund, the minimum amount is 1,000 rupees. So you cannot imagine going and investing 1,000 rupees in the stock market through a stockbroker. He will chase you away, right? But in the unit trust, they accept 1,000 rupees. Some of the funds, the minimum investment is 1,000 rupees, right? And then the other point, managed by team of professional investment professionals. Now, if I take the stock market investment, a lot of people in Sri Lanka consider the stock market investment like gambling, right? They don't understand where they are investing. They simply consider that they are just buying a share, or they look at the stock code and they are buying a share. But investing in the stock market, now the unit trust funds, they also invest in the stock market. But when we invest in the stock market, we consider that we are investing in the business. We are not looking at the share. Whatever shares that we buy, we are looking at as if we are investing in the business. So if the business is not expected to grow, the purpose of investing is to achieve a capital gain in the stock market. That's the main objective. So how will you achieve the capital gain if the company in which you are investing, you don't know what is the business the company is doing, and you have no idea whether the company will grow in the future or not. So majority of the investors, retail investors who invest in the stock market, they are traders, not investors. But unit trust, we don't trade, we invest. So when we invest, that means we are investing for medium to long term, not short term, right? Why do I say that? If you are investing in the business, you can't expect the business to grow within 3 months or 6 months. It takes a longer time. So when you invest in the business, and over a period of time when the profits of the business grow, what will happen? The value of the share the company has issued, it goes up. When the value increases, there is a demand for that share in the stock market. When the demand increases, the price goes up. So that happens over a medium to long term. So that doesn't happen in the short term. So short term is speculation, pure speculation. So what you see currently is speculation, not investment, right? And the other thing is, if you look at the companies, usually the companies publish their quarterly financial statement, say 1 month or 2 months after the quarter is over. But then, by the time the information comes to you after the quarter is over, that is past information, right? That is over. Now you can't look at the past information and make an investment decision because that information is stale. You are investing now with an objective of trying to achieve a return in the future. So that means you must know what is the company going to do in the future, what is the profits of the company in the future. So a lot of people react when the quarterly financial statements are released. The retailers react, right? Either they panic and sell or they started buying. But unit trust, we are not dependent on the quarterly result because we have to do our homework. Because if we are going to select about 25 or 20 companies out of these 300, we have to identify what are the best companies. So how do we do that? We can't be doing research on all 300 companies to identify that. So we have certain method. Like we have a earnings database, right? From that we will know, we compare the quarterly earnings for the last 8 quarters, and then from that we will know whether the top line has been growing during the last 8 quarters. What had been the GP margin of the companies, whether it has been growing. If that is so, that company may look interesting for us to do further research on the company. We are not going to buy simply based on the earnings growth. So when I say, when we do a research, that means we have investment analyst who will thoroughly do a research and forecast the earnings of the company for the next 2 to 3 years, right? So without that, unit trust won't simply go and make investment in the stock market, right? So unit trust, as I mentioned, that they don't react to the quarterly statement because they do their homework. Once they identify companies which are expected to grow in the future, they will go and make investment. So after making the investment, we closely monitor every single factor that may influence the profitability of the company. That is done. So I will give you one example, one good example. While I was in the unit trust management company, we used to have like weekly meetings. So what do we analyze in this weekly meeting? We analyze the commodity prices, because commodity prices can be tracked in the internet. So we have the analyst tracking most of the commodities, right? You may know Lanka Lubricants Limited, right? Caltex Lanka Lubricant, or now known as Chevron Lanka. What is their main business? The main business is manufacturing of lubricant. So in order to, what is this lubricant used for? Motor vehicles and heavy equipment. So what is the main raw material that goes into this lubricant manufacturing? That is known as base oil. So base oil is a byproduct of crude oil, right? That is a byproduct of crude oil. So crude oil, if you look at the graph, it's wide fluctuation. During the day itself, it goes up and down like that. It's wide fluctuation. But base oil, it's not like that. It is flat. I mean, when there is a movement, that remains for some time at the same level. Again, it can be a upward movement or slight downward movement, and again flat. So we have been tracking the base oil prices. So when we tracked the base oil prices, we saw the base oil has dropped by about almost 16 to 20%. It has come down. So immediately we quickly did the numbers, and we decided to get into that particular share, Lanka Lubricant. At that time, the share price was 165 rupees. So we bought that share for all our portfolios, the unit trust as well as private portfolios. We bought that share. So that was somewhere in July. So the September quarterly results were released in end of October. There was no change in the company's profit. December quarterly earnings came. There was no change. Then March quarterly earnings were released somewhere end of April. There was a big jump. Why is base oil so important? Base oil represents 75% of the cost of production of lubricant. So you can see, if the 75% of the cost of production is going to decrease by 16 or 20%, how much of profit the company is going to make. But although we bought in July, September quarter, December quarter, no change. But March quarter, there was a significant jump in the profits of the company. Why that? For the company normally carries about 4 to 5 months of stock. So when they replenish the stock at a lower price, the profit jumped. What happened to the share price? It went up to 350 rupees. But we bought at 165. We were able to sell at 350 rupees within a period of 9 months. So this was possible only when you do a proper research, and then you are closely monitoring all the factors that influence the profitability of the company. So now this kind of research, an ordinary or small investor may not have the capacity to do such research, or he may not have the knowledge to carry out such research. So for a small investor, when he purchases units, he purchases units in an investment portfolio that is professionally managed by investment professionals. And then the unit trusts are regulated by Securities and Exchange Commission of Sri Lanka. They are the ones who grant licenses to the managing company, and they approve the unit trust. Then we have the trustee. I forgot to fail to mention earlier. Now in Sri Lanka, we have the unit trust or the CIS scheme under a trust structure. But in some countries, the CIS is structured as a company. But we didn't want to structure as a company because, as you know, whenever the budget is announced, always they try to change the taxes, corporate taxes. So if we consider unit trust as a company, we have difficulty in taking up with the government to reduce the taxes. So we made it a trust structure, and then we managed to convince the Inland Revenue and make the unit trust as a pass-through structure. That means it's a tax pass-through. Unit trust does not pay any taxes now. It's the investor who pays the taxes on whatever he earns from the unit trust. Right. So I have mentioned here the investor interests are protected by the trustee. So we will see how the trustee can protect the interest of the investor, because as you know, we are raising money from the public. So the central bank regulates all the deposit taking institutions like banks and finance company. Now Securities and Exchange Commission of Sri Lanka regulates the mutual funds, because we are raising money from the public. But then these are managed by a private company, managing company. But then you need to have some sort of safeguard to protect the interest of these investors, because there are a lot of small investors who invest in the unit trust. So that is why we have a trustee. So let's see later the role of the trustee. Can we move? Right. Why invest in unit trust? Because it is a convenient way for ordinary investors to invest in a professionally managed investment portfolio, right? Because they don't need to do all these hard work. They simply buy the units in the fund, and that is managed by fund manager. They have a choice of risk and return. As I mentioned, there are about 68 funds with different risk return profile. So the investor has the choice to select that suits his risk profile or return objective. Then we have in the unit trust, there's an opportunity to enhance your return beyond the traditional savings and fixed deposits. During the last, I would say about 8 to 10 years, in the unit trust, although we say unit trust is a capital market, long-term investment, we have also introduced short-term instrument like money market fund. Now these money market funds are very popular in the unit trust. So later on, when I share with you the market share of different types of fund, you will know the percentage the money market funds command in the total assets under management of the industry. So money market fund, you would have seen in the newspaper, they publish the current yield. Current yield is something like, some of the funds are publishing 25%, 24% per annum. Now, money market funds are highly liquid funds. You invest today, and then within 2 days you tell them, okay, I want my money tomorrow, the funds will be credited to your account tomorrow. So liquid is so much. That is the liquidity wise, it has the highest liquidity. So that means it's similar to a savings account. Because savings also, you go to the bank, you can withdraw from your ATM, you can withdraw. So the only thing is we don't have ATM. But the fund is similar to a savings. But if you look at the return, now although the interest rates have gone up in the country, fixed deposits have gone up, people are paying 25-30%. But if you look at the rate of interest the commercial banks pay on your savings deposit, it has not increased. They pay only 5%. So compared to the savings, you are better off investing in money market fund and earning a 25% or 26% or 27% return. Because unlike a fixed deposit, if you have an urgency, you want to prematurely uplift, the bank will charge you a penalty. So that means they will pay you the savings interest up to the period that you had the deposit with them. But in the money market fund, there is no maturity as such. So you can keep your money for any period, but you get the return much higher than a savings. So that was a popular fund which is in demand right now. Even earlier, even now, it has, with the interest rates picking up, there were outflow of funds initially, but now gradually funds are moving in. Next slide. So just to share with you a brief history of unit trusts were introduced in late 1991. So by 1992, there were about 3 more unit trusts came. So altogether there were about 4 fund management unit trusts. These are all known as balance fund. Balance fund means the objective is income and growth. So that means you invest in the stock market as well as fixed income security. These are all open-ended funds. So there were 4 fund managing companies. Each of these fund management companies had their shareholders, as their shareholder, some other commercial banks. People's Bank had one, Commercial Bank, DFCC, and then Bank of Ceylon. So these 4 banks were the shareholders of these fund managing companies, right? Next slide. So although we started in 91, 92, and these banks were the major shareholders of these, not major, they had a significant stake in the managing company. So we were under the impression we may be able to use the branch network of this bank to sell units to the public, right? Because the public, I mean, now only gradually we are getting into this digitalization and online banking and all that. Earlier, when you want to make investment, they would like to go to visit a place. They need an office. So outside Colombo, it was very expensive for these managing companies to maintain branch network every part of the country. So they thought best thing is to make use of these bank branches, because they had, most of the banks had branches like Bank of Ceylon, Commercial Bank, People's Bank had branches all over. So we thought we could make use of these to distribute these products to the public. But of course, there was stiff opposition from the branch manager, because they were given targets to mobilize deposits. So they say, why should we allow our depositors to go and invest in a fund, because funds are going out of our branch. So they were not encouraging people to invest. And the other thing is, in 91, 92, when it was introduced, there was an investment relief that was given by the government. During that time, late President Premadasa was the president during that time. So he gave an investment relief. That means anyone who invests in the unit trust, they can set off the full amount against their taxable income, right? Whether it is an individual or a corporate. And during that time, the income tax was in the region of 40 to 45%. Now we are grumbling. Currently we are at 36% personal income tax. But during 91, the highest tax rate was 45%, right? Corporates were paying about 40 to 45%. So majority of them, they didn't know what a unit trust was. They wanted to take the tax benefit, because that can be set off against their taxable income, full amount. So they were saving about 40 to 45% of their taxation, they were saving. So they thought, let us go and put our money into this. But what happened? There was a lock-in period. You can't sell if you take the tax relief, you can't sell it for 5 years. Right? 5 years, you have to keep your investment. After that only you can sell. Prior to that, if you sell, you have to pay back all the taxes. So unfortunately, during, say, I would say, after about 2-3 years, the unit prices which started at 10 rupees, it almost doubled to 20 rupees. But people were unable to realize the capital gain, because most of them have taken the tax relief. So they had to wait for a period of 5 years. So by the time the 5-year period ended, we had the central bank bomb blast. With that, the market collapsed. So the unit price, which were issued originally at 10 rupees, went up to almost 20, dropped below 10 rupees at the end of the investment holiday period was over. So it was the negative sentiment for unit trust. One was lack of distribution channels, and this negative sentiment also affected people from coming to the unit trust, because the investment relief was given only during the first year. Right. Right. Now we look at the main participants of the unit trust. There are unit holders, then there is the unit trust fund, fund managing company, and the trustee. Next slide. So this is the structure of a unit trust, right? You have the fund managing company on top. Right at the bottom you have the trustee. Then you have on the left hand side you get the unit holder. Right. So the first thing, if you look at number 1, the unit holder purchases units, right? He buys units. That means he is giving the money to the fund managing company, because the fund managing company is the one who does the marketing function of units, right? The trustee doesn't sell units. It is the managing company who has to promote the unit trust. So they sell units to the public. That means public gives money and they receive units from the fund managing company. So what has the fund managing company got to do with the money? They can't keep the money with them. They have to send the money to the trustee. So the trustee has a bank account in the name of the unit trust fund. So the money goes to the trustee and trustee deposits that money in the fund current account under their custody. So if you keep the money in the current account, you are not going to earn anything. So the purpose of selling units is to make investment. So who makes the investment decision? It is done by the managing company. So the managing company, number 2, invests funds in an investment portfolio which consists of fixed income securities and equity securities. And what do you get from that? When you invest in the equity securities, you get a dividend declared by the companies regularly, and then you may realize a capital gain, and you will receive interest income from fixed income securities. So these are the income the mutual fund or unit trust will receive from the investment. And all investments are made in the name of the fund. Although the investment decisions are taken by the managing company, all investments are made in the name of the fund, which is under that account is under the custody of the trustee. So every single return from the investment, it goes to the trustee. Right. And then we saw earlier the trustee protects the interest of the investors. How does he do that? Now if you look at the investment decisions are made by the managing company. So managing company is the one who takes investment decision, where to put the money, what security to buy. But the trustee is the one who is having the funds. Whatever investors have given to initially to the managing company, it has come back to the trustee now. So the money is with the trustee, but the managing company has to take the investment decision. So when they take the investment decision and convey it to the trustee will see whether that particular investment is an approved investment or not. Because there are certain documents, we will see that. So what are the permitted investment? So those need to be specified. So the managing company cannot decide arbitrarily to make investment. So whatever money that you collect from the unit holders can be utilized only for that objective, nothing else. So the trustee, suppose now say for example, if I take, you start a fund with an objective of providing a regular income. So if that is the objective, that means the fund will invest predominantly in fixed income securities, because you have an obligation to pay regular income to the investors. So in that case, all their income, 100% of the income is in fixed income securities. So assume the managing company has already made the investment, and then over a period of time he sees the interest rates are coming down. When the interest rates come down, on the other side, stock market, the price levels are moving up, and you are in a position to realize a significant return from the stock market. So now he goes and tells the trustee, look, interest rates have come down. Now if I invest in the stock market, that the unit holders will have a better return. So let me put some investment in the stock market. But the trustee will say, sorry, you can't make any investment in the stock market because your fund is an income fund. So under the income fund category, stock market investment is a prohibited investment. So your intention is good. You are trying to provide a better return. But according to the fund, that's not a permitted investment. So the trustee will ensure that all the funds are utilized only to meet the investment objective specified in the fund. Right? And then, of course, once the fund receives the income from the investment, that is distributed by way of dividends or capital gain to the unit holder. So that is how the creation works. Redemption. Suppose if an investor who has already invested in the fund, if he wants to redeem his investment, he goes to the fund management company and say, okay, I want to redeem my investment. So the fund management company has to inform the trustee because he doesn't have the money with him. So he has to inform the trustee, such and such an investor, he is holding so many units, now he wants to redeem his money. This is the price, please pay him that much. So the funds will be either sent through a check or fund transfer. That is how the operation of it. Right. So I don't want to do much on this because unit holders, they are the investors, right? So it can be individuals or institution, right? There are a lot of institutions also invested in the unit trust fund. Next slide, please. So this is the fund. So specific investment fund is called the unit trust, right? So going forward, it may be known as scheme, right? CIS, Collective Investment Scheme. So it will be known in the name of a scheme. The size depends on the units sold and the net asset value of the fund, because the fund size can vary. So the fund invests in the portfolio of investment securities. The unit trust will receive various kinds of income from the investment and they distribute it to the investor. Next slide. Fund managing company. So they are the main player in the unit trust operation. So they obtain a license now under the new SEC Act as a market intermediary. Earlier, the managing companies were functioning, they became automatically a managing company when they obtain a license to operate a unit trust fund. License were granted to different funds. But now under the new SEC Act, the managing company is considered as a market intermediary and the different schemes are approved. So this license is renewable on an annual basis. So they are responsible for managing the CIS. That is the responsibility of the managing company. So one managing company may have more than one scheme. One unit trust fund or different scheme, they can have more than one. Minimum share capital of the managing company is 25 million currently, but that is subject to change based on the SEC's requirement. So if you look at the functions of the managing company quickly, the setting up of the CIS is done by that means to obtain the approval to operate a collective investment scheme is done by the managing company. They do the marketing function. They make investment decision, right? The daily unit prices are calculated. They also maintain a unit holder registry. They prepare the financial statement. They facilitate the redemption request. Next slide. The trustee. It's a financial institution, independent of the managing company. They can't be connected parties, right? Because two people are doing two different roles. Because the trustee is virtually supervising the operation of the managing company. So you can't have some connection between the two different independent parties, right? They are appointed. So virtually trustee in Sri Lanka, most of the banks are functioning as trustee. So we have at National Bank, Deutsche Bank, Bank of Ceylon, National Savings Bank. These are the 4 banks which are functioning as trustees of unit trust managing company. Right. Next. So what is their function? So their function is to see that the CIS is, they need to ensure that CIS is managed according to these set of SEC Act, CIS code, the trust deed, and then key investor information document, because that is the document that is given to a prospective investor, which gives the basic information, right? And there are directives that are issued by the Securities and Exchange Commission of Sri Lanka from time to time. So the trustee need to ensure that it is managed according to all these requirements. Functions of a trustee: they have custody of all assets of the scheme, right? And as I mentioned, they ensure that investment decisions are conform to the investment objective of the scheme. So they ensure the managing company comply with all the regulations. They are the ones who approve all advertisement, because the managing companies cannot advertise the way they want. It has to be approved by the trustee, right? Because why? The regulator doesn't want the unit trust to be mis-sold, because mis-selling has to be stopped, because you can't guarantee a return, because that's the other disadvantage, because the banks can advertise their return. 1 year fixed deposit, we can give you 30% or 25%. Unit trust can't say that, because all over the world you cannot guarantee a return or forecast a return. You can only give the past return, and then you need to mention a statement: the past return is not indicative of a future return. That also has to be there in the advertisement, right? And then the payment of all dividends are done by the trustee, and then of course they verify the daily unit prices calculated by the managing company. Right. So we look at briefly the types of different CIS, right? Collective investment scheme. We have open-ended scheme, closed-end scheme, interval scheme, umbrella scheme, and then exchange traded fund, real estate investment trust, hedge fund, unlimited. You can launch any types of collective investment scheme. So all these while we had only open-ended and close-ended for almost 31 years. From 91 to 2022, we had only open-ended and close-ended. Although the Unit Trust Code of 2011 provided for exchange traded fund, we didn't have a single exchange traded fund up to now. But the CIS, we have included all these. So let's look at briefly some of these. Open-ended fund, right? Now this is the most dominant form of investment scheme. That means out of 68, you get almost 65 or 64 funds are all open-ended, right? No restriction for entry and exit. That's the nature of open-ended. Anybody can enter the fund at any time. Anyone can exit out of the fund at any time. So investors buy or sell units at the NAV from the managing company, right? They can buy any time or they can sell their units at any time. So NAV is calculated on a daily basis, because why? Redemption or creation or redemption is permitted on a daily basis. So you need to have the daily unit price. Next slide. So it doesn't have, an open-ended fund doesn't have a fixed capital. Why? As new investors enter and existing investors leave, daily the fund size is changing, right? There is no fixed amount of capital. And then it does not have a maturity date. It's open-ended. The 4 funds that started in 1991 are still in operation. That means now almost 31 years, these 4 open-ended funds are, even now they are functioning, right? And the open-ended fund, the units of the open-ended fund need not be listed in an exchange, because you have the option, investors have the option of directly buying the units from the fund managing company or selling it to them at the NAV. So there is no necessity for you to list it in the exchange. Next one is close-ended fund. Number of units is fixed, because units are sold only during the offer period, initial offer period. After that is closed. Nobody can buy any new units after that. And usually these have a maturity period. In Sri Lanka, whatever close-ended funds that we had, every one of those had a fixed maturity period, either 5 years or 7 years we had. So some of the funds have already matured. It can be perpetual, right? You don't need to have a maturity date. You can have a closed-ended fund with perpetual. Now, units are, since it is long-term, you cannot expect the investors to keep for 5 years or 10 years, and they are not in a position to encash it. Now, open-ended fund, you can do it any time. But closed-ended fund, now under the new CIS code, if it is less than 5 years, it's not a requirement to list. But if the maturity period is 5 years or more, then the managing company need to list the units in the stock exchange. So that means that will trade like a share. People can buy and sell in the market, secondary market. So once listed, they are called shares. So after the initial offer, the investors can buy units only at the exchange. They can't buy anything from the managing company. So they can sell it only through the exchange. So the market price can deviate from the NAV, because in open-ended fund it is traded at the NAV. But market price is decided based on the demand and supply for the unit, number of units that are of the closed-ended fund. But anyway, the closed-ended funds are supposed to submit their NAV as at the end of the month to the exchange. That is to give an indication what had been the NAV of the fund as at the end of last month, right? This is a new type of scheme which you introduce in the CIS code, known as interval scheme. So in other words, these are closed-ended fund, but giving the option to the investor to sell portion of their investment in between. So that means the managing company will say, so this is a 10-year closed-ended fund, but investors have the option of redeeming, say, a certain percentage, not the full amount, say 5% of the funds can be redeemed, say, during the last quarter of every calendar year. So they give a period. During this period, any investor who wishes to redeem 5% of their investment, they can redeem. It is not mandatory that they need to redeem. They have the option. So that's why we call it interval. It's also, although it is closed-ended fund, these are open-ended fund. New units can be sold, right? You can sell new units, but you can't redeem any time you want. You can redeem a portion of your investment only when the managing company gives the redemption. So what is the purpose of this scheme? Mainly to invest in illiquid assets, right? Because in an open-ended scheme, investors can exit at any time. So you are not in a position to invest in illiquid assets. But in this, you really know what percentage of money is going to go out, when, and you know the value. So you can really plan out for illiquid investment in the interval scheme. Next we have umbrella scheme. So this is a new scheme that we have introduced in the collective investment scheme. Now the umbrella scheme has to have two or more sub-funds. There must be sub-schemes. There must be two or more sub-schemes in an umbrella fund. Now these are very popularly used in the international market by hedge funds. So what they do is, say there can be an umbrella fund which invests predominantly in the global market. So domestically, there are various sub-schemes. Instead of directly investing in the global market, they invest in the umbrella scheme. So they collect money, they sell units or funds to the public. The sub-scheme raise money from the public and they invest in the umbrella scheme. Say for instance, in Sri Lanka if you take, we have equity funds. But equity funds, there are so many equity funds. So somebody can start an umbrella fund and say, we will manage your investment professionally. We have so much of expertise in the equity market. So we are an umbrella fund. So all the sub-funds, if you want, you can invest in the umbrella scheme. So that means the equity funds will sell units to the public, raise money from the public, And instead of them directly investing in the equity market, they invest in the umbrella scheme. So when they invest in the umbrella scheme, different sub-schemes invest in the umbrella scheme will have a large asset base. So they will be able to make decision when you have a fund size is large, the operation economies of scale comes into play, and they can get a better price, right? And they can well manage the portfolio. So that's the reason why we permitted umbrella scheme. So we look at some of the categories of CIS schemes that is presently in Sri Lanka, right? So we have main categories like gilt edge scheme, gilt edge fund, money market fund, income fund, equity fund, balance fund, index fund. Now gilt edge fund predominantly only in government security, either treasury bills, treasury bonds or repurchase agreement. Money market fund only in fixed income securities, whether it can be government securities or corporate debt securities, but with a maturity of less than 397 days. So that means no single investment in the money market fund can exceed 13 calendar months, right? But in the gilt edge fund, there is no restriction. And then income fund, that also you can invest in either government debt securities or corporate debt securities without any time limit, right? You can invest short term or long term. Equity funds, yes, predominantly in equity securities. Balance fund, it's an hybrid, income and growth. Index fund, there are index fund which track particular index and they invest in that. Then there are other categories like sector specific fund and Sharia fund. So these are the funds that are in operation. So I didn't want to go much detail into these. I think I'm sure you all must be aware of these already. Right. Now we look at the valuation of these assets in this scheme. So when you look at the valuation of assets in the scheme, money market fund, next slide please. Now money market fund, I told you we invest only maximum up to 13 months. So this is highly popular in the unit trust industry. So all investment are valued on amortized cost basis. So it is not valued on mark to market basis, but cost plus accrued basis. So when you take cost plus accrued basis, that means every day you're adding the accrued interest component. So that means there is no opportunity for the unit prices to come down because you're not valuing anything on a mark to market basis. So this is popular among the corporates because a lot of companies, they park their temporary cash surpluses in the money market fund as a cash management tool, right? So it's highly liquid, but because they don't want to see that investment value going down because of the market fluctuation. So that is why it is restricted to 13 months. Of course, I didn't put all the other requirement of the CIS code. There is a liquidity requirement that the money market fund has to maintain. That is, there are daily liquidity, weekly liquidity, monthly liquidity. So these are requirements when the money market fund need to maintain. Next. Then all the other schemes except money market fund. Now there are equity securities, if you look at it, those are valued at volume weighted average prices, that is mark to market, right? Then except repos and fixed deposit, because there is no secondary market for that, so those are valued on amortized cost basis. Commercial papers and trust certificate with maturity of less than 397 days in any funds valued on cost plus accrued basis. All other investments are valued on mark to market basis. So this valuation principle have to be followed by all the unit trust fund, right? We'll have the types of fees. Now these services do not come free of charge. So the managing company, the trustees, they have certain fees. So we have front end fee. Now front end fee is charged mainly on equity fund, because equity fund, it's very difficult to sell because the prices can fluctuate. Investors do not want to see the price going down. So you need to, in order to promote the equity fund, you need to appoint sales agent. So the sales agents are incentivized by paying them a commission. So the commission is levied by way of front-end fee from the investor. Then there is a back-end fee or exit fee. So exit fee is charged on the equity fund, because especially growth fund. Now growth funds are not short-term fund. It is medium to long-term fund. So we do not want any investor to come to the growth fund and leave within a short period of time. So the funds, in order to discourage investors leaving within a short period of time, they have introduced this exit fees. Other than that, there is a management fee levied by all the fund. Usually for all the income fund, the fee is very small, 25 basis points to 50 basis points per annum. But equity fund, it can be about 1.5% to 2%. Custodian fee, because trustee can function as a custodian, or you can have a separate custodian also. There is a custodian fee and a trustee fee. Then there are other fees such as audit fees. So this is just a I have given you a brief data from year 2000 up to now. What had been the how many fund management companies are there, how many funds are in operation, what is the total assets under management, and what are the number of investors, unit holders. So if you look at in 2022 September, that is month before last, there are 16 managing companies. We have 68 unit trust funds, but funds under management is very small, 123 billion. The number of investors is only 64,000. From a total population of 22 million, we have only 64%. So the main reason being, one is lack of awareness, lack of distribution channels, right? So which the regulator is working on it. Next slide. So just to give you a ranking of the managing companies, if you look at the assets under management, 124 billion is distributed among the 16 managing companies. So if you look at the top 5 companies command almost 80% of the assets under management. So that means the remaining 11 companies are very small. They manage very smaller portion of the assets under management of the unit trust industry. Excuse me. Right. So if you look at the distribution according to the types of fund, as I mentioned, I told you money market fund is very popular. So if you look at 47% of the assets under management of the unit trust industry is in money market fund, right? And then there is income fund, gilt edge fund. So when you add up all that, it's almost 85% of the funds are in fixed income fund. It's only 15% of the unit trust industry is invested in the equity securities, right? Either whether it's a balance fund or growth fund or index fund, but majority of it is in fixed income securities. Then finally, the taxation on unit trust. So as I mentioned earlier, unit trusts are considered as tax pass-through vehicles, right? Unit trust does not pay any taxes. It is the investors who pay. So except equity fund, right? In other fund, all the other fund, income and capital gain realized by the investors are taxable at the tax slab. That means at the tax rates according to their income slab. Equity fund, if you categorize as equity fund, but you need to have certain percentage of exposure to equity securities. In that case, the capital gain and the dividend income from the equity fund is exempted in the hands of the investor. I have to rush through this given the short period of time. Any questions? If you have any questions, I may be able to answer. Okay then, thank you. If there is no question, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for the fruitful session. Sir, would you please remain on stage? Now, I invite Professor Ruwan Abesekara, Head Department of Finance, to present the token of appreciation, accompanied by Mrs. Danushka Piyananda, Lecturer, Department of Finance. Thank you, sir and madam. With that, we have come to the end of the first session of today's agenda. Concluding the first session, I would like to remind you that the second session will start at 1 p.m. and I look forward to meeting you all at the launch and review of the Finance Outlook Magazine 2022.